Let's talk Jinx, a weekly Jinx video we do every Wednesday about anything to do with Jinx, as well as this video acting as a weekly discussion thread on the Jinx subreddit, our League of Jinx. Make sure to go check that out. And it's patch notes week, so this week we talk about the patch, changes to Jinx, changes that might affect other AD carries and Jinx's matchups, and then something of a pseudo AD carry tier list to round the video out. So that being said, there were no changes to Jinx on patch 10.13, but there were changes to other AD carries like Aphelios. Aphelios needs to be kind of dialed back right now, kind of like this summer heat. It's so humid in my room right now, as a matter of fact, that will probably kill me long before any of the saltiness and rage of ranked will. So the Aphelios changes are like this though. Base attack damage growth decreased. Q chakram reset removed for epic monsters. Turret range indicators no longer visible, and spectator. R follow-up attack critical damage decreased. Aphelios has so many stuff and things just packed into him. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know his R had follow-up attack critical damage in it to be decreased. Like here I thought people were complaining because they say Jinx is overloaded for having 10% extra damage in her rocket form. They don't know anything apparently, and neither do I, that's fine. What does this mean though for the Jinx versus Aphelios matchup in lane? It will vary a little bit because I think most of us on default right now just still ban that champion, but if he makes it through champ select, he makes it in whatever, you ban something else, totally fine. Maybe combined with this kind of steady nerf train he's been on, he should be sponsored by Nerf guns at this point. It will be a little bit easier to actually fight this champion post 6. Pre-6, the chakram, the Q, crescendum, and chakram damage, like it no longer resets on epic monsters and stuff like that. That's not going to be really an issue in lane phase, unless they like class canyon minions as epic monsters in the near future. Who knows? But with that being said, those kind of changes aren't really going to affect the lane matchup with Jinx too much. You're still going to probably play that exactly the same. But post 6, wherever this bonus crit damage is coming from, if Aphelios is like rushing crit or whatever, it's gonna be down to 20% bonus attack damage from 50%, which is quite a big leap, right? That's a whole 30% less damage on that ability. It might just be the difference between you surviving and flashing away, for example, if you get all in surprisingly, or, you know, flat out dying, feeding, and losing the whole game for your team, because people wonder why you're playing Jinx, even though she is pretty decent right now. They're like, you could have been playing Aphelios yourself, and it's like, no thank you. I don't want that poison. With that being said, Calista is another champion getting some changes. The base attack damage growth on Calista is being decreased because guess what? Calista's popped up in pro play, it's time to knock her back down. She doesn't get to have a life anymore. That's kind of why she's already the living dead. With that being said, Jinx versus Calista, and how this will work is her attack damage growth was 4 and it's going down to 3.5. That kind of means it really only affects as the game goes on, but in laning phase, as like laning phase goes on, instead of gaining 4 attack damage growth, which, you know, 4 times even 3, for example, is 12. Well, 3 times 3.5 is less than 12, not by a lot, but eventually, like I'm saying, it'll add up over time, and depending on how long the laning phase goes, she'll be doing less damage than she would be doing on previous patches. So when you think about trades and all-ins and stuff, technically, the longer the lane is going, the more you'll probably have an advantage there, especially if you use the rockets to bully correctly, even bounce the AoE splash damage off of minions. She won't be able to give you hopping nightmares because it won't be possibly killing you as much. It's not like a huge change. It's not like it's attack damage growth going from like 4 to 1. So don't see a Calista and think, oh, this is easy mode. Let me just turn on my blinders, play with my feet instead of my hands, and it'll be all good. No, you still want to be careful. It's still a Calista. She has her level 6 ultimate, which will just throw in Alistair in your face and ruin your day. Be careful. Now, Kog'Maw's an interesting change because I think this will kind of affect his mixed builds in a somewhat decent way, but I think this is more aimed for like off-meta AP Kog'Maw, which people probably aren't playing bottom lane, they're probably playing mid lane. But in case someone feels ambitious, here we go. Kog'Maw, Q damage ratio increased, R damage ratio also increased. They basically wanted to buff AP Kog'Maw like the nightmarish days of Season 6. But if they're in the bottom lane, what it kind of also means is that on the Q, for example, the damage ratio and ability power is going from 0.5 to 0.7. So like in a mixed build with Rage Blade and Wits In and stuff like that, that might be a little bit more. Living Artillery, right? The ultimate is going from 0.25 ability power to 0.35 ability power. Kog'Maw's still going from 0% presence in any games to 0% presence in any games. Let's be real, Kog'Maw's actually pretty good right now, if you look at tier lists and stuff like that, but people just really aren't playing him, and I think this buff is trying to be like, hey, this guy exists, and he's also pretty good, please play him. Play him right now. Do something with him. Please. We know we probably need to rework him, we're not reworking him right now. Mundo won out that list, so, you know, there. Please. We're begging you. Give him a pool party skin with a lot of skin. There you go. That'll actually do it. Lucian. You remember back in the days when Lucian's Q range was so ridiculous it felt like you could never actually fight him in lane, which on one hand made sense because he's a lane bully, but on the other hand made your life kind of miserable because you're like, you expect this from mages at this point or something like that, not another AD carry. What are you going to complain to Riot about now, right? It's like we can't be like, oh, I hate AD carries in the bot lane. Unless, of course, they want to allow Jinx to solo lane, so at times when you're tilted by bot lane, you can still play Jinx somewhere else. Probably not, but the Q ability range is being increased. It's going from 900 back to 1000. I say back to 1000 because if you're newer to the game, Lucian used to have long range on his Q. It's how he used to lane bully. They took that away a while ago and kind of changed his profile a little bit from he can't lane bully as well as he used to, let's put it that way. And now it looks like they're like, well, actually we want him to lane bully like he used to because he's still struggling. So in the Jinx matchup, if you're playing as Jinx, just be aware it's like the old Season 5 days of playing against Lucian. You don't really want to play against Lucian, but if you are going to be playing against Lucian, he's going to probably try to use the Q through the minion waves the same way you're using the rockets to try and hit people with the AoE splash damage. So when he steps up near minion wave, you could try and take your shot, but he'll probably try and take his shot. He'll have a little bit of extra range. He'll probably try and bully you through like your own support too and stuff like that, even if you have a Braum. So just be aware, Lucian's looking for you to line up with things like minions and your support for this ability, or just flat out with the ability itself when they buff it one day to global range and he's just sniping you in your fountain. You know, there you go. A support that's getting changed is actually Recon. Wakanda forever. W base damage increased later. Won't really affect when you're playing with a Recon in lane as your support, or if you're playing against a Recon support either. But later in the game, with all those engages, you're gonna want to play around your flash if you're Jinx. If you're Jinx, when it comes to engaged champions, always try and play fights around your flash. If you can get your team to agree with that, type in chat and stuff, hey, my flash is up in say 30 seconds, can we try and maybe not take this fight for another 30 seconds? So when it goes south, like it inevitably does, because all four of the other champions are hard engaged people and Jinx is not, and you guys all flash in to do something and I'm just out here in the wild like a scarecrow outstanding in my field, I can maybe flash away or even just flash in with you guys and we can all try and commit the fight together. Something like that. That might be something you want to worry about. Just a heads up. Gonna throw that in there because, you know, support change. I'm going to include Syndra just because she kind of is in the bot lane. Like Cassiopeia, there were changes to these champions, kind of honorable mentions. They're both getting nerfs. I don't see them necessarily leaving the bottom lane with these nerfs, but depending on the elo, you're also not seeing a lot of Cassiopeia anyways, or Syndra, and it's fine. She does have the pool party skin though, so people might want to see more of that leg, and so they might, you know, play a little bit more Syndra in the bottom lane. We'll see. Also, honorable mention to Fat Hands. Vi herself is actually, people, right? Remember she exists. They're giving her a buff. The Q cooldown is being decreased later. So in late game team fights, just be aware, like Vi is a thing and she has lower cooldown and she's gonna probably be doing more vault breakers and, as Bad Administrator said, into haymakers. So, you know, just be aware of that. And last but not least, Yuumi. Yuumi's E-cost is being increased. Everybody's celebrated because Yuumi's finally getting some nerfs because apparently everybody hates that cat. But let's say you don't, or let's say your support doesn't and they're playing as Yuumi, right? What this means is on the zoomies, basically, you're gonna have to be aware that that has been increased. So if Yuumi's already not feeling like they're doing a lot, they're probably because their mana cost has been increased and they really actually can't do a lot until their cooldowns are on cooldown. Cooldowns exist. Please, one thing to note, if you're taking fights or whatever, I'm not saying you have to keep track of all these different things, but sometimes your support isn't doing something because it's not on cooldown, not because they're incompetent. And that might be the case if you see Yuumi still in your game. Now to get to the part of the video you're actually here for, the pseudo AD carry tier list, where we take the changes on the patch, apply them to a current site like say Lollytics, and try and predict what will or will not change, and that way we can determine what will be top tier or not. So make sure to comment from your own elo and what you think actually will change. I'll try and hit some general stuff that you can use. So that being said, looking at Lollytics as an example, Ezreal is apparently S tier, up in like Masters, with a pick presence of almost 40% and a ban presence of almost 25-26%. That's actually interesting because there's no changes necessarily to him, so he might not be changing actually at all. Neither would Vayne or Jhin or things like that. If we look at some of the AD carry changes that were actually happening on this patch, it looks like a couple of lower down AD carries. Things like Calista, who's already at like a 49% win rate, she's probably going to be knocked down like a little bit because that was a little bit of a hit to her attack speed growth. So wherever you have her, they have her like a C+. She might move to like a solid C. She's probably not going to fall into like D or anything like that, but it's a pro play problematic champion. This is what happens with these kinds of champions. Keep that in mind. Jinx, for example, as a comparison to start this whole thing off, according to this site, she's sitting at A tier. She's actually, like I said earlier, she's actually pretty decent AD carry right now. She's picked almost 8% of the time. She's banned very little because even when she's powerful, people don't really hate Jinx. They feel like she has enough weaknesses to play against. So obviously, as a Jinx main and the Jinx channel, we're all probably playing Jinx anyways. But if you're watching this and you don't, that's a champion you should always probably have in your back pocket, if for no other reason than people don't like banning this champion. They feel she's kind of fair to play against, at least to a certain level. So that way, if you have this champion in your back pocket and your other champions are flavor of the month, you can just pull out Jinx and still be able to do things with this champion. Seldom is she actually really terrible. Right now, she could be better, and a lot of people will actually argue, probably even in the comments of this video, she could be better, sure, but she's not like the worst, or even the worst she's been in a while. Right now is a pretty decent time. She's like I wouldn't say sleeper OP, but she's definitely under that radar of people aren't really going to contest you for picking her. So this now time is a good time to pick her. A lot of the other A tier stuff, like Caitlyn, Draven, even Yasuo, we talk about Cassiopeia, they're not really getting any changes whatsoever. And the Kog'Maw change, again, remember we talked about earlier, he's actually almost at a 54% win rate. He's only picked less than 2% of the time, and even banned less than Jinx. He's a champion again. Riot kind of is doing these changes because they're like, hey, please, Kog'Maw, love him, give him something. Even Malzahar and the Void kind of just threw him to the side, right? Just throw him a bone, something, right? That's what this change really is. It's not really, I feel, gonna skyrocket Kog'Maw to like the top tier AD carry or something like that, unless we hit a meta where there's a lot of mixed tanks, as in there's a lot of MR tanks and a lot of AD tanks, and you need a lot of mixed damage to try and chew through both of those, or something like that, right? We need hybrid AD carries. I don't think that's necessarily gonna be the case. Looking at some of the other changes on this patch, none of them are really the tanks. There were some changes to Guardian and Conqueror, of course, which maybe might help tanks a little bit, but not like an explosive amount. And if you are gonna have to go against tanks, again, you can probably just pick another hyper carry like Jinx. There we go. I am biased. That's why I said you have to comment with your own AD carry tier list. I'm definitely biased about my stuff here. So, some other changes. Not really many changes, but Lucian's change is in here, and that might matter a little bit. If he can lane bully and get himself out of lane to the mid game, he might be able to actually do some serious work. He's at a C-, almost like the lowest tier, D tier, of 48% win rate. Here's my hot take, because I always try and do a hot take, even if I'm wrong. Let me just be bold. I think Lucian's change will actually be effective. I don't think it will necessarily rocket him to like a 55% win rate, but I think this is the change that if you've been playing Lucian for the past 5 seasons, you've been waiting for this back on the same level that if you were a Jinx player when they took away the attack speed scaling on the minigun back in patch 5.10, you were happy to see patch, was it, what, 9.3 or 8.2, when they basically gave that back 3 years later. This is that change for Lucian, I feel. And like that change, Jinx did shoot up a little bit, but she wasn't like the broken OP AD carry. Lucian, the way his profile works and the way he wants to lane bully in the early meta and stuff like that, he might kind of do that as well, but in a different way. But not like a broken level. I don't think Lucian will be broken. I think he might be ban worthy even if your champion doesn't lane bully very well and can't deal with Lucian's stuff in your face. But there we go. That's my like bold hot take prediction, if you will. But that's gonna be all for this video. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification, the actual subscribe button. But I don't know which video will be next, because life can have a lot of kinks. So until this time, take care. GG, get jinxed. Thank you for watching, and enjoy pizza responsibly.